50 wins, 0 losses, 20 years. And yet, half the boxing world still calls Floyd Mayweather boring. Here's the problem. If you only watch boxing for knockouts and blood, you're missing the greatest defensive chess match the sport has ever seen. You're watching a master craftsman and calling him dull because you don't understand what he's actually doing. But here's what really makes Mayweather different. 3 things separate him from every fighter who ever lived. And by the end of this video, you'll see why even his haters have to respect the science. First, how did a fighter with brittle hands become the most untouchable defensive genius in history? Second, what psychological trick did he use that made world champions break down mentally before they broke down physically? And third, there's one moment in his career where he got hit with the hardest punch of his life, and what he did in the next 30 seconds revealed his true genius. We'll break down that moment, but first, you need to understand how he turned his biggest weakness into an unbeatable system. Most boxers accept damage as the cost of glory. Ali took punishment to break Foreman. Hagler and Hearns went to war. Gatti and Ward became legends through blood. Mayweather rejected that premise entirely. His career wasn't about entertainment or warrior mythology. It was about optimization. It was about proving that intelligence could beat power, that defense could be more dominant than offense, that boxing at its highest level was a problem with a solution. The numbers tell part of the story. 50 wins, 0 losses across more than 20 years, 15 world titles spanning 5 weight classes from super featherweight to light middleweight. Opponents landed an average of 5 to 10 clean punches per round against him, compared to 15 to 20 against most champions. He was never knocked down in his professional career, never stopped, never truly hurt, except for that Mosley moment. But numbers don't show how. To understand that, we need to go back to the beginning. Young Floyd Mayweather was a knockout artist, 3-time National Golden Gloves champion in '93, '94, and '96, Olympic bronze medalist at 19. When he turned pro in '96, he was finishing fights with power, aggressive combinations, seeking the knockout. Through 1998, most of his wins came by stoppage. Then everything changed. His hands started breaking. Brittle bones meant every power punch came with the risk of injury. So he made a calculated decision. If he couldn't rely on power, he'd make himself impossible to hit. This is where the shoulder roll became his religion. But it wasn't just one technique. It was an entire philosophy of combat. Let's get technical. The Philly shell isn't new. Willie Pep used variations in the 40s. James Toney and Pernell Whitaker mastered it in the 80s and 90s. But Mayweather perfected it to a level boxing had never seen. The mechanics are deceptively simple. Lead shoulder raised, creating a wall. Right hand guards the chin as the last line of defense. Left hand stays low and extended, acting as both rangefinder and bait. Back foot planted, ready to pivot or counter. But the genius is in the execution and integration with everything else he does. Watch any Mayweather fight closely. When an opponent throws a hook, his shoulder catches it. His head moves just 2 inches. Minimal energy wasted. Before the opponent can reset, Floyd's straight right is already landing. This is the efficiency that boxing purists obsess over. He's not just defending. He's making you pay for every attempt. Every punch you throw creates an opening he exploits. The shoulder roll isn't passive defense. It's an offensive weapon disguised as protection. And it only works because of what he does with distance. Range control is Mayweather's invisible weapon. Most fighters think in terms of in and out, forward pressure or backward retreat. Mayweather thought in angles and zones. He mapped the ring like a chessboard, and every position had purpose. Watch his lead foot in any exchange. Every time an opponent commits to a punch, he pivots left or right, never straight back. This does 2 critical things. It takes him off the center line where power punches land, and it positions him perfectly for the counter. Against Pacquiao, against De La Hoya, against Canelo, the same pattern emerges. He's always at the perfect distance. Too far to get hit clean. Close enough to make you miss and counter immediately. But here's what separates Mayweather from every other defensive master in boxing history. He didn't just avoid punches. He weaponized frustration. He turned defense into psychological warfare. Look at the Ricky Hatton fight in 2007. The first 3 rounds, Mayweather lets Hatton land a few jabs. Nothing significant, but enough to give Hatton hope. Enough to make him think he's in the fight. Watch Hatton's body language. He starts loading up, trying to land the big shot that will change everything. Mayweather is baiting him. By round 6, Hatton is fighting emotionally, not tactically. Round 10, Hatton overcommits on a left hook. exactly as Floyd planned 6 rounds earlier. The check hook knockout was inevitable. This is fighting as psychology. Mayweather didn't just beat you physically. He broke your confidence, made you doubt your game plan, forced you to fight his fight on his terms. Now let's return to that Shane Mosley moment. Round 2, Mosley lands that massive right hand. Multiple angles confirm it. Clean shot. Mayweather's hurt. His eyes show it. This is the hardest punch he took in his entire career. Watch what happens in the next 30 seconds. Immediate clinch to buy time and clear his head. When they separate, notice his range. He's now 2 inches further back than he was before. He changes from combinations to single shots, disrupting rhythm. By round 4, he's completely neutralized Mosley's power, not through toughness, but through adjustment. Mosley's punch accuracy drops from 28% in round 2 to 11% for the rest of the fight. Mayweather made real-time adjustments that most fighters can't make between training camps, let alone in the middle of a fight. That's not just skill. That's the highest boxing IQ the sport has ever seen. 5 weight classes, from 130 pounds to 154. The shoulder roll, the footwork, the psychological dominance, all of it still worked. Why? Because he adapted. At super featherweight and lightweight, he was more aggressive, throwing more combinations because he could outspeed everyone. From lightweight to welterweight, this was peak Mayweather. Peak defensive mastery. The shoulder roll became virtually unsolvable. But at light middleweight against a young, strong Canelo Alvarez, he couldn't rely purely on speed anymore. Watch that fight carefully. More clinching, more holding, using the ropes to kill Canelo's angles. It's not pretty boxing, but it's brilliantly effective. Critics say he cherry-picked opponents or avoided dangerous fights, and maybe there's some truth there. But consider this. He beat world champions across 15 pounds of weight difference. That's not luck. That's mastery of adaptation. Let's break down how he specifically neutralized different fighting styles, because this is where his boxing IQ truly separates him from everyone else. Against Manny Pacquiao, the most dangerous southpaw of the generation, Mayweather did something brilliant. He studied Pacquiao's angles for years. When they finally fought, Floyd controlled the center ring, forcing Pacquiao to circle into his right hand. Every time Manny tried to create angles by moving laterally, Mayweather pivoted and cut the ring. Pacquiao's entries, usually so explosive and unpredictable, became readable. Floyd turned a southpaw puzzle into a predictable pattern by taking away the angles that made Pacquiao dangerous in the first place. Miguel Cotto presented a different problem. Cotto was a devastating body puncher who broke down opponents over 12 rounds. Most fighters tried to outbox Cotto at range and gassed themselves out. Mayweather did the opposite. He allowed Cotto to come forward but used the shoulder roll to smother Cotto's body shots before they could generate power. When Cotto went to the body, Floyd's elbow was already there. When Cotto went upstairs, the shoulder caught it. By round 7, Cotto's output dropped dramatically because every punch he threw hit nothing but defense. Floyd didn't avoid Cotto's body attack. He made it ineffective, which is even more demoralizing for a fighter whose entire identity is built on that weapon. Then there's the Canelo fight, which deserves deeper analysis. Canelo was 23, undefeated, a massive draw, and the betting favorite in some circles. He was bigger, stronger, younger. This was supposed to be Floyd's toughest test in years. Instead, it was a masterclass in making a great fighter look ordinary. Mayweather used the ring ropes in a way most fighters never consider. When Canelo would press forward, Floyd would lean on the ropes, let Canelo get close, then spin off at angles Canelo couldn't anticipate. Canelo would punch the air, his momentum carrying him into nothing. By the middle rounds, Canelo looked confused, hesitant, second-guessing every move. Floyd broke down a future pound-for-pound king by showing him levels of ring generalship he'd never experienced. That's not just winning, that's teaching someone they're not ready. But here's what most people don't understand about Mayweather's dominance. It wasn't just about what happened in the ring, it was about what happened in the gym. Floyd's training philosophy was radically different from traditional boxing culture. Most fighters believe in hard sparring, going to war in the gym to prepare for war in the ring. Mayweather rejected that entirely. His sparring sessions were controlled, technical, focused on specific looks rather than trying to knock out partners. He understood something fundamental. Why damage yourself before the fight even happens? His uncle Roger Mayweather ran the mitt work sessions that became legendary in boxing. The precision, the speed, the rhythm. Those sessions weren't about building toughness. They were about building patterns, muscle memory so deep that defense became instinctive. Floyd's famous training montages, the hard work, dedication mantra, it all reflected a systematic approach to preparation. While other fighters were grinding themselves down in brutal gym wars, Floyd was doing calculated pad work, shadow boxing with ankle weights, and running at 4 in the morning with perfect form. His conditioning wasn't about toughness, it was about maintaining speed for 12 rounds. His strength training wasn't about power, it was about maintaining structural integrity, so the shoulder roll would work in round 11 the same way it worked in round 1. Everything connected to the system. The training philosophy was the foundation that made the fighting philosophy possible. So what did Mayweather actually solve? He answered boxing's fundamental question: what's the optimal way to win? Traditional boxing wisdom says to be great, you must be willing to go to war. You must be willing to take punishment, to deliver punishment. Mayweather's answer was different. Why go to war when you can win every battle without getting hit? He rejected the warrior mythology that dominates boxing culture. To him, boxing was a problem with a mathematical solution. Minimize risk equals maximum career longevity. Control distance equals control outcomes. Break your opponent's will mentally, and the physical victory follows automatically. The criticism that he was boring? That's the entire point. Boring to watch means the opponent can't solve you. It means perfect execution. Let's be completely objective here. Was Mayweather perfect? Number. He fought some opponents past their prime. Oscar De La Hoya was 34. Shane Mosley was 38 when they had the rematch. He avoided Sergio Martinez and Paul Williams in their primes. The Pacquiao fight happened 5 years too late when both were diminished. These are legitimate criticisms. But here's the reality. Even accounting for all of that, his technical mastery was undeniable. His ability to adapt was unmatched. His understanding of how to win while preserving his health and mind was revolutionary. 50 wins, 0 losses, 15 world titles, 5 weight classes, over 2 decades at the highest level. But more importantly, he retired on his terms with his health intact and his mind sharp. Compare that to Muhammad Ali, who stayed too long and paid a devastating price. Compare it to Mike Tyson, who became a shell of himself. Compare it to Roy Jones Jr., who went from untouchable to tragic. These are legends who gave everything to boxing and lost themselves in the process. Mayweather's genius wasn't just how he fought, it was knowing when to stop. It was understanding that winning the sport meant more than winning fights. It meant winning the long game. Floyd Mayweather didn't give casual fans what they wanted. No wars, no knockdowns, no dramatic comebacks. He gave hardcore boxing fans something more valuable, a masterclass in technical perfection. He proved that defense could be as dominant as any offensive onslaught. That ring intelligence could consistently beat raw power. That boxing, when executed at its absolute highest level, was a science of angles, timing, and psychological control. Some called it boring, but if you truly understand boxing, if you study the craft beyond the highlights, what Mayweather did was beautiful. He didn't just win 50 fights, he solved boxing, and that solution will be studied for generations.